In honor of Menstrual Hygiene Day, we're shining a light on period poverty. It's a serious issue affecting young girls and their school attendance across Jamaica. And joining us are Alexia Lamonth-Edwards, Outreach and Testing Officer and Girls Act Lead at AHF, and Sannia Sutherland, Country Program Manager at the AHF. Morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica. It's morning time.
Alexia,
Thank you.
what is period poverty?
So period poverty refers to women and girls being unable to purchase or access period products, and also the lack of information surrounding menstrual hygiene and their menstrual cycle.
Yeah, it looks different ways across the globe. What does it look like for a Jamaican girl?
In Jamaica, based on a survey done by UNICEF, 1 in 4 girls will miss school. From lower income society, they will miss school per month. Based on the survey done by Ministry of Health, only 30% of schools can provide pads for free. Yes.
All right.
Sannia, this is something that I've been hearing about for a long time. So I was going to ask if it's just certain areas, because of course in Jamaica you have,
demographics different, no?
Or is it just what? Explain to me.
It's hard to estimate because there is so much stigma and discrimination around the issue, and persons are reluctant to speak freely about access to menstrual products. 1 in 4 girls is a generalized situation. And so even in schools that can afford it, it is alarming, because that would mean that a lot is going unsaid. And it is 1 in 4 girls throughout the year experience period poverty. So this month, they may have enough menstrual products to be able to cover, but next month or the following month. And so it is intermittent, and that is what we want to address. We want to address, what would I say, equity in access for menstrual products and menstrual hygiene, and to have persons understand what is the impact. Because, reusing products, all of those other issues can create other health problems.
And you mentioned it, Alexia, that period poverty is not just about access to the resources, but access to information. I'm seeing here where they're saying a number of girls, 95% of Jamaican teens, so they feel uncomfortable being at school during their period. And a lot of that has to do with awareness.
And lack of information, not knowing who to go to for support, what to do. And it also has to do, unfortunately, with the infrastructure in some of the schools. Some schools are not fully equipped with the things that are needed to experience your menstrual cycle with dignity and privacy, because some of how the bathrooms are set up, because of our Jamaican situation, during the periods of drought when there's water lack off, there's not a lot of water, and you need water in order to clean yourself and do what you need to do on your monthly cycle.
This says 30% of Jamaican public schools provide free menstrual products. Is that a requirement from the school? Or the schools are just saying, well, we know you have an issue here and we want to help you? Because when you say 30%, it's almost like you're suggesting, well, we want to the other 70%. How come them not deal with that?
So I would want to say, from where I sit and the work that I do, I think the school just takes up the responsibility, because the girls come to the guidance counselor needing a pad, needing resources. And so the school, since they have them for such a long period of time, for 5 days of the week, I think they just take it up as part of their responsibility now. And I think with the government now coming up with the initiative to put in pad dispensers, I think that's a good move, because school is where a lot of the young people will come if they need stuff and they don't have it at home. So school is that safe space for a lot of them. So I think, we need to have it.
But Sannia, it's not a knock on the other 70% that's not helping them? I'm asking here.
Well, we believe that it should be a policy decision. It should be housed within a framework where it should be a requirement that you provide it. Because especially in low-income schools where you know the vast majority of your
Which is why I asked the question originally about where it happens.
Yes, the vast majority of the student population might be experiencing period poverty, might not want to speak about it. I could tell you my experience. I went to a school that is considered to be a higher income bracket, and at our school, we got free products. And yes, the school could afford it because, you know, the parents may have been contributing. But we have to remind ourselves that not everybody's going to ask. Some children, and we're talking about 1 in 4 students, being absent from school as a result of not having. And we're also talking about the fact that for our students, they're reusing disposable products.
Wow.
Exactly. And so this is creating a different problem, and it's not okay. So we really believe that as a policy decision, it would be in the best interest of the health of our students and to reduce absenteeism for schools to provide.
One of the things that the government did some time ago, 2012, was remove the GCT on menstrual products, but we import quite a bit of them, and that 20% import duty still applies.
Yes.
Is the cost of the product also prohibitive to a lot of our young ladies?
Well, based on what we're seeing when we go into low-income schools, it seems to be prohibitive. You may need 2 or 3 packs for your entire menstrual cycle, depending on what type of cycle you have. And so it is your ability to provide it consistently and to the level, and to ensure that you're changing throughout the day seems to, for me, it means that it is prohibitive to them. You can get a pack of pads for around $400, and still there is inadequate investment based on what we're seeing from the data, and therefore it must be that children are experiencing this issue.
You guys have 4 pillars. I'll give the headline and you explain. In-school sensitization sessions.
So in school sensitization sessions, we go into the schools, we have interactive discussion with the girls. Sometimes we include the boys depending on the school situation, but we have interactive sessions with the girls talking about their menstrual cycle so they understand what is going on with their bodies. And we also talk about menstrual hygiene so they know how to clean themselves, how to do what is necessary when they're on their cycle. And we also talk about period poverty. And we talk about period poverty because, as we mentioned earlier, the lack of education around it, a lot of girls are not aware that they are experiencing period poverty. And so this is a way to bring it to their level and also empower them to advocate, because they can advocate at school and in their community as well.
You said sometimes you include the boys. Why would you not include them all the time, and why you include them at all?
So, we want the conversation with the girls to be as open and as candid as possible, because we want to know what their realities are like so we can do interventions going forward. And sometimes we realize that they are not comfortable speaking candidly about their menstrual cycle when boys are present. Okay. And so that is why we try to we find out before, because we want the conversation to be real and open.
Tell us about the Girls Act program.
So the Girls Act program is a global initiative under AHF, and we empower girls and young women to thrive, to stay in school, and we help them to reduce health-related risks such as HIV, STI, and unplanned pregnancies.
Okay. For everyday Jamaican who's watching at home, I'm watching right now and I'm hearing about period poverty. What can I do to help to alleviate the situation or to support the programs that are happening for the girls, Sannia?
You could donate. You could also build awareness around the issues that may be affecting our women and girls, because as we said before, that people don't understand what's going on. We have to normalize the conversation. We have to normalize access and information. Many girls, when we go into schools, don't know what to do, don't know what the next step is. And so if women aren't leading the conversation, and adults in general aren't leading the conversation, then people are not acknowledging the issues, and it is having a ripple effect on our women.
I was watching, I'm sorry, no, I was watching on Instagram, and there's a father, and he says he sits his sons down and he talks to them about it, about what happens with women, and he says to them, so if you see mom behaving this way or doing this is why. And he says he's doing it because he wants his sons to be the one when they get older. If they have friends who are girls, their girlfriends, their wives, they know how to respond and they know how to assist. And I feel like that's very important in terms of the boys.
By the way, the government took off GCT many years ago.
2012.
But there's still 20% import duty bringing in menstrual products.
Yes.
That number change?
It should.
It should.
Really should. Feel free to advocate on our behalf.
Yes. Feel free to continue the discussion around removing that.
Yes, but we really do appreciate the fact that GCT is removed.
Yes.
And it does increase access and improve access for our young people.
Yeah. You've been to 5 schools. Where you go after this?
We continue the work. So we don't just do menstrual hygiene talks on Menstrual Hygiene Day. We do it year-round. So we distribute pads year-round to organizations and schools and NGOs.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right.
Outreach and Testing Officer and Girls Act Lead at AHF, Alexia Lamonth-Edwards, and Country Program Manager at the AHF, Sannia Sutherland.
Coming up, Find Your Own Spotlight. Marco Dean will be with me when we come back. Stay with us, please. Soon come.